Hello and welcome to round 4 for GSU 100% by RCL. This is at Ribeirao Preto and we're just finishing up the warm-up lap now. It was Ellis who put the car on pole for the first time this season. Askoff was second with Nikobi third. Fourth went to James Reed and his new signing at VMC Motorsport. Nigel Lee, his teammate, was fifth. Sixth went to Matt By. Seventh was Sim Steele. Eighth was Kramer, and ninth was Andrew Jones. So here we go then to start the race, and we are underway. Ovi got a good start. Whether he meant to overtake Askoff going into that corner, I don't know. Everyone else managing to make it through safely apart from Matt By, who ran slightly wide there. This gave opportunity for Kramer and Jones to battle alongside by locking the brakes up once again, and Kramer attempted to go around the outside of Jones, but it did get him past By instead. Back at the front, and the order remains as it started, with Ellis still leading from Ovi, Askoff having a look but not making anything of it. Once again a street circuit for the second week in a row. Tight, twisty and not much room for manoeuvring. And possibly an interesting race. Into the final corner we come then. Ellis still leading from Ovi and Askoff, and then it's Reed, Lee and Steele. Kramer 7th. Matt By had to make a pit stop at the end of the first lap due to some damage he sustained on the warm-up lap. And this was him entering pit lane now. As we come on to the second lap, James Reed, who had got himself ahead of... No, he hadn't. He qualified ahead of Lee, didn't he? Yeah. But going to the first corner, he locked up, and Steele did the same and hit the wall pretty hard. Luckily, he managed to carry on. I'm not sure how he managed that though. Kramer and Jones are battling again. Kramer making a banzai move down the inside that was never going to work, forcing both of those to run into the wall. Askoff now going around the outside of Ovi, coming into turn 1. Ovi gets it all crossed up under braking and somehow avoids contact. That gave Askoff second place around the outside. James Reed then went for a spin after recovering from his first corner incident. Back to Kramer now, and he goes for a spin going out the first corner. And Steele follows him into the wall for the second lap in a row. Kramer eventually gets the car going again. It's now Kramer and Reed battling. Both of these recovering from their various incidents they've had in the first couple of laps, and Kramer gets all sideways going onto the roundabout section. Tries to dive back down the inside of Reed, but Reed's having none of it and he's passed him from up into the hairpin. Steele has a move down the inside of Jones and there's contact between the two. Steele thinks about going down the inside, but he can't quite make the move. And there's contact between Steele and Jones, sending Jones into a spin that I'm amazed he managed to hold on to, but that allowed Reed past Steele. Jones locked up going into the hairpin, and ran pretty wide, which allowed Reed to get alongside him. Coming into the final corner now. Reed still alongside. You can't get two cars through there, and they find that out the hard way. On board with Steele. Jones locks up at the first corner, and that allows Reed to almost get through, but can't quite make it. Going into the second corner, he's still alongside, and still not through, but Jones has gone wide. This gives Reed a better run down the next straight. Jones sort of out fighting back, coming down the inside, but couldn't make the move. Later on into that lap, and Reed goes straight on at the hairpin, and Jones follows him, which allows Steele to pick up two positions in one go and not even have to do anything for it. Jones then decided that he needed to come into the pits for his first stop of the race. Askoff was now catching Ellis, and he'd been quicker than him for the last couple of laps. Ellis was looking to make it 4 wins in a row this race, and with Larsen not around, he had it all his way in qualifying, which could have helped that. Ellis brakes way too late into the final corner, hits the wall, and Askoff spins it, getting past him. Ovi has to thread the needle between the two of them, which drops Askoff down to second. Ellis retired on the spot and ended his run of wins. Nigel Lee then promoted himself up to second, getting past Askoff. Askoff finding out that the final turn isn't as wide as he thinks, as he manages to get the car going eventually, which dropped him down to third and a long way off the lead. Steele then made a mistake on the roundabout, which allowed Reed to get past him. And Reed was the first of the major frontrunners to make a stop. His new signing at BMC Motorsport certainly working out okay for him so far this race. Nigel Lee following his teammate into the pits to make his first stop of the day. Askoff from third was then next to pit. Then Ovi, who was leading, then came into the pits as Andrew Jones made his second stop of the day. Ovi having to make his way around Jones to get to his pit box. Steele, who was now up to second, then made a mistake, which allowed Lee to get through, promoting Lee back into the second place that he currently held. Askoff, who had just pitted, was now behind Steele and trying to make his way back up through the grid, challenging Steele for third at the minute. Askoff getting the better run out of the roundabout, going down onto the hairpin, and he was through before they even reached the corner. Steele down to fourth now, due to his various incidents on that lap. Steele then made a pit stop, and that was his first stop of the day. He was one of the last cars to make their pit stops, actually, running a different strategy to everyone else. Now on to the second stops of the race. Nigel Lee going way too quick coming onto pit lane. That picked him up a penalty, which wasn't very clever. Askoff then got his braking all wrong coming into the first corner and span it. Here's James Reed coming onto pit lane, make his second stop. And his teammate Nigel Lee not far behind him, taking his drive-through penalty for his pit lane speeding. It was now Askoff from 3rd place making his final stop. And then Ovi from the lead with a good 40 to 50 second gap back to Askoff now due to Lee's penalty. He made his final stop of the day. James Reed then made a mistake coming into the final corner and ripped the front of the car off. Unlike Ellis, he did manage to drive away from that incident. Jones, not sure if he meant to pit here, but he had no choice, I don't think. That was his 3rd stop of the day. Steele crossed the line to finish 5th and then ran out of fuel. That picked up Steele another 2 points with a good run for him so far this season. Ovi came home to take the win, continuing Team RLD's dominance of this championship and 4 wins in a row for them. Nigel Lee came home in 3rd, barely making it to the finish on fuel. Then it was his teammate James Reed in 4th. Andrew Jones took 6th and his first points of the season, same for James Reed, also taking his first points of the season. And finally Askoff managed to get his race together and finish for the first time this season to take 2nd place and a well deserved 6 points. Could have been quite possibly a bit more for him, but wasn't to be. That's it for round 4. Join us for round 5 next week at Londrina. We'll see you then.